Hi, everyone. I'm Tamaki here with Carmen and a great friend of Quartet, Jack Van Zandt. Jack is a great friend of ours. We met last last spring 2019, and Jack is a composer based in LA. He is recently contracted with Composers Edition in UK. But today we are here because of this pandemic. But we have this opportunity to be in the same place and talk about what we've been doing, and then we feel very excited to have this opportunity. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thanks very much for that introduction, Tamaki. So I just to add to that, now we're in this new world of virtual discussions and meetings and stuff, but we met the old-fashioned way when you guys came here to Southern California, and actually it took us a year to organize your tour. You came, I hosted you when you came here, and then co-produced several of your concerts when you came last year. And so we were hoping, actually I was supposed to be there this week, and we were hoping to do something like this live and in person, but of course, with the lockdown from the pandemic, we're all in the same boat all over the world now. We can't travel. Like, I'm here in my studio in Los Angeles, and you guys are in your homes in England. Mm-hmm. And so, like all of our friends who are in the music community, there are no concerts now, and nobody knows when concerts are going to start again. The teaching, if you've got a full-time teaching job, you're doing it on Zoom, and if you're like me, you do guest teaching, all those gigs have dried up. We have lots of friends who play in Hollywood orchestras and for film and TV productions. That's all dried up. So basically our whole music community is like trying to figure out how to go forward with this new situation and how to practice our art and get what we're doing out there. So I was thinking about you two a lot lately because I know, you're performers, you're teachers, but you're also moms. So maybe you could tell everybody out there, like, how this has affected you as individuals, but also how it's affected you as, in terms of the quartet as well. So Carmen, maybe you'd like to say something about that.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's definitely a strange time for us to be in, as it is for everyone. Just on a base level, individually, we're all okay in health, fortunately, at home with our families and our kids, and taking one day at a time. And I totally understand that all these lockdown measures are in place for a good reason, for our protection and to keep us healthy, and to also kind of reassess how everything works in the system. But to live in this global pandemic is really unsettling. So it's a kind of mixture of this being at home, which is very safe and very sure, but what's happening on the outside is completely unsettling, and we don't know, everything's turned upside down. So it's a very strange place to be in at once. So a lot of habits have changed for us overnight. As a quartet, it's very interesting how we try to figure out what to do for the future. And as working musicians, as you said, it's really tough out there because a lot of stuff has just stopped, been canceled. So we're having a lot of reassessment and talking about our future goals and what we can do. And that also can be unsettling. But I think the connection we have just talking to each other is really great. And that gives me comfort in a way. As a mom, as you said, Jack, it is tough because the kids are home all the time. So you have to find a way to make sure they're doing well and your family is okay. And then at the same time, I have my own individual projects that I want to try and fulfill and commitment. So again, it's a balancing act. I don't know if you had anything else to add, Tamaki, from your experience.
Yeah, same experience. So it is challenging all around, as an individual, as a professional, as a mom. But at the same time, there is something really kind of such a relief to come to the simplicity of life. Have opportunity to look at the core things, what's important. I guess like I treat it as kind of Marie Kondoing thing in life. Just kind of reassess everything. Do I need this? Is this spark joy? That kind of things. But it's challenging, but it's rewarding to come closer to the core value, core important things in life, which is, I think, family and friends. And that's why I think it is such a great phenomenon globally that people are connected like this to have really good conversation on Zoom or any other means to really feel close. And that effort itself is really beautiful things what's happening in the world right now.
Yeah, I always think, I think I said to you guys before, well, I've been around for quite a few years longer than you, but I mean, I've lived through some pretty crazy things in my life, the Vietnam War and civil rights in America, and the threat of nuclear annihilation and the Cuban Missile Crisis and all that, and everything right up through the 2008 economic collapse. And so this is just, so I've seen these kind of things before, and what I realized about it is how that old saying is if life throws you a lemon, make lemonade. It's kind of like you find a way to cope, and these situations change you. So when we come out the other end of this pandemic, we're going to be thinking in different ways. We're going to find different ways of practicing what we do. I really think it's in a way it's like forcing us to go from the old analog world to the new digital world, right? So we're all trying. So in one sense, it's presented us with a hell of a lot of opportunities and possibilities. And I think and we've talked, the three of us have talked about this too. We're trying to come up with ways to go forward as musicians and use technology and because maybe we won't be able to go back and do concerts like we used to be able to do for a long time, and maybe it's going to be hard to get groups of people in the studios and that sort of thing. So we have to find a different way to not only make music but to get it out to an audience. And so I think all these things kind of add up to what happens now, because I know you guys have kind of made your name as a quartet playing these incredible repertoire of British composers from Elgar on, and I think it's really distinguished you as a quartet for playing these pieces, which are all William Alwyn and those kind of composers that are marvelous, really. And we actually met through the fact that you were paying your last big CD project, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, was you recorded the works of Peter Fricker for quartet. And, he was my teacher, and I knew him when I was an undergrad, and later on we were friends, and he was a fabulous composer in person, a wonderful teacher, and it just made me so happy to see you were doing that. And I think these kind of projects, I think those are really worthwhile because there's so many great composers out there that people forget about when they pass on. And so you're doing a great service for music history, but also for our entire community of musicians by bringing awareness to these kind of pieces. So now you're thinking, you're in a place now, you've got some new personnel, and you're trying to find a way to go forward. So maybe tell us about where the quartet is now, Tamaki, and about your new partners and what you think you're going to be doing in the near future.
Yeah. So whole world is experiencing this incredible change in pandemic, and then we are all shaken. And then at the same time, we are going through internal personal changes at the moment. But so we've been collaborating with great fabulous musicians, but we actually came to to the point that we can announce today that Villiers Quartet is joined by this fabulous first violinist. Her name is Katie Stillman, and she used to play in the excellent quartet in the UK called the Villiers Quartet, and she's excellent soloist, chamber musician, orchestra leader, but her heart and passion lies in chamber music and the quartet. And then we had such a great time collaborating, talking about the music, talking about music industry all around. So we're very excited for what's going to come ahead for us. It's how to understand, how to listen to each other, and then always trying to seek for the solution in a positive way, which I find the very core essence of the chamber music. And we're so lucky that we have colleagues in this time.
Yeah, and we all like you say, we all have to figure out. I know like Carmen was saying, it's kind of unsettling to see what's going on around us, but somehow we have to find positive energy to channel into the work that we do, because it's the only way to do it. You said something, so you've got Katie Stillman who's going to join the quartet, and also you should maybe, I know you're doing this Together in Isolation project right now, which is really exciting, and we'll be talking about the project we're doing together on this a little bit later on, but maybe can you just say a few words about that too?
That's really the product of our thought process of what can we do really in this pandemic, and concerts are cancelled. But it's not just concert, it's just for us, our life force of thinking about music, what we gain in the rehearsal, what we gain in the process of preparing for the concerts, that life force vanished, which I found really difficult and depressing. So it's really came out of that thinking process, and also at the same time, it was great to witness so many musicians globally trying to find a new way of connecting to each other, connecting to the audiences. So we were inspired, and we thought about what can we do. But for us, the very important things is a connection and understanding. First, we start from really us. So whilst we are going through this tough time, and then we had to be kind to ourselves and kind to each other to really understand. But it really started from that attitude. In the title of the project, Together in Isolation, it really embodies what we want to convey.
Well, I think it's actually one thing about you two is you've played together for so long, and I know, I've said this to you before too, as a composer, when I write music, I feel the music that I write very deeply, and it's not always that you come across performers who can connect to that and bring out that and can feel the same when they perform. And you guys, to me, the two of you seem very able to go into deeply emotional territory, and that's usually probably easier to do when you're in the same room, but the fact that you're doing this in your separate homes via video and stuff is makes a big difference. But you still have the same passion, and I think you know how to communicate with each other already, so it's almost like you have telepathy. So I think that's actually working out great. But so what do you think, thinking about this, Carmen, and don't forget to turn your mic back on after I ask you this, but so what do you think now, just sitting where you are now, looking ahead, what do you think the challenges are going to be for you as a quartet?
Wow. Well, yeah, there are tons. I suppose, I mean, let's face it, this pandemic changes everything. Everything. I mean, I guess we were already, as a quartet, it's already a challenge even before the pandemic to kind of think about what you're going to do. But I know it's not just us who are, thinking the prospect of all of our concerts, for instance, in the next 6 months have been canceled. And so the majority of what we do as a group for live audiences is basically, vanished. We also do a lot of education work, which is working with students in schools. And again, that's been snuffed out for now. And that's been really hard to kind of sit back and watch happen and accept. That's like the first major challenge, is the existence of how you knew you would operate in the past is now overturned. And so we kind of have to think internally about, what does that mean for us as artists? What does that mean for us as musicians? It can be a real existential crisis. And I know we're not the only ones feeling that. All major arts organizations, from massive orchestras and opera houses down to individual artists, are thinking, wow, what is our function in society? What role can we play if it's very hard to carry that out? All the challenges aside, the thing that does keep us going, I feel, are just the fact that chamber music is something we're all fanatically passionate about. And I suppose we figured out a way to still play with each other, lockdown or not, especially with these isolation videos. It's a completely different process. It's totally different from what we're used to doing in the hall together in the rehearsal room. And we've learned a lot of new skills in doing so. So as part of that, we've had to really experiment and open up ourselves as musicians into trying new things. And in this case, it's becoming more technology based, making music that is meant to be experienced online. I think we have done things before in the past, our VQ New Works competition, which experimented with new music online, but we've never really fully embraced it as something that was central to what we produce. And I think that's a new space for us. I mean, it's probably new for classical music in general. In the pop world and in, popular culture, it's totally where performance lives. But for classical music and for chamber music, it is new for us. And I think, just like everybody had to immediately learn how to use Zoom to meet over a space of days, we're also learning this very quickly. So it's pushing the boundaries. So as an ensemble, it is literally forcing us to look at different modes of performance, different modes of how our music and what we do can be shared. So that's a big challenge internally for us to kind of think about. And Tamaki and I have had so many conversations about this, that, and in a way, does it guide your organization to a certain place? But the other great things is that, doing things this way allows us to collaborate, ironically, more easily. I don't know if you found this, but I'm having more Zoom calls with my family and being in touch with them more commonly now than I ever did before the pandemic. So the opportunity to connect more easily is actually there, and you realize you really can just do it on your phone. You can just do it on your computer and come up with new things. So in forging our mission of continuing to create and to harness creativity, I found that reaching out to people is important. And, reaching out to people like you, composers, to other artists, to other people who work in different mediums, that's really been interesting for us. So the challenge is the old world, how we used to operate, which we know very well. concert venues and how to put on concerts and how to sell programs and put to repertoire. That's completely changed, and everybody has entered a new space on how to keep things going. So that's one of the major changes we've gone through.
Yeah, I think you said a word there that I'm also using these days, and I think it's the way that things are going is collaboration. And like I've been, most composers, we work alone. Like I work in the studio all by myself for hours on end, days and days and days and days. And so, but all of a sudden now I'm collaborating with other composers and other musicians like you online and people I never dreamed in a million years. And we're putting together these kind of projects that are made for streaming. And I really think that, that's, like you say, the pop music world already goes that way, but I really think our world is going to start to go that way too. And like we have this project that we're doing in the Together in Isolation project. But before we talk about our project, I just want to bring up one other thing. Maybe Tamaki, you can talk about this. Is that well, first of all, this was a project you guys came up with that is really close to my heart for a particular reason. That you've been playing the you played all of the quartets by Alexander Gur, my great friend and teacher, and we've been friends for 45 years. And you've played all 5 of his quartets in one day, including the new 5th quartet, which he wrote for you. And found that just so mind-boggling that you could, first of all, do that all in one day. I think he finds it a bit that way too. But he's our friend Sandy. We know him as Sandy Gur. So talk a little. How is this? Because your intention was to record all these quartets. So I'm thinking, you're going to have to do those in more of a traditional way in a studio, but maybe not. What is your thinking now about how to go forward with that project?
Well, we feel absolutely fortunate to have met to Sandy and then have been introduced to him. He wrote a quartet to the Villiers Quartet, so we are incredibly honored and fortunate, appreciate completely for this connection. So what was really incredible playing all Gur Quartet 1 to 5 was that we were suddenly experiencing this really big span of time. Like it's almost like going through somebody's life with it. So like the first quartet, what it's the one he has such a connection to the Boulez. So it really started from that. So we can feel that we go through this incredible journey of walking inside of somebody who has this incredible mind. And then just the last quartet, fifth quartet, latest quartet, it's just it's such a rewarding piece of music to perform and to deliver for the audiences. It has great balance within the works. It's the journey between movement to movement, how it walks from one movement to another. It's a completely different style, but it just guides the audience through to tell the story. We're fascinated by it, so we would like to. Villiers Quartet would like to record the fifth quartet definitely as soon as we come out of lockdown, and then we are hoping to deliver all his 5 quartets, disc and live performance. It's incredibly challenging things to do, but at the same time, why not?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a good long-term project, and and it'll take some thinking through to do it. And I know, physically, it's for performers. I mean, it's to do one at a time it would be like a challenge. So, but already having played all of them in one day, I mean, you really managed to do something amazing. Especially and like we all feel that Sandy is such a fabulous composer and just a wonderful human being anyway. I mean, but it's just such a great project, and I know he's thrilled about it too. So the other thing, so then the three of us decided recently when I saw your Together in Isolation videos that you made, a couple of them, and I go, oh, those are fantastic. First of all, they look beautiful, but you just played so beautifully, and it's so, even though it's simply presented, it just feels like something new, and it's very striking to watch you play that way, in isolation. And I wrote to you, and I said, oh, I've got just the project for this, I've got these 5, because Ireland is my second home, and I spend a lot of my time there. And I says, a couple years ago, I wrote for string duo. I wrote these my own Irish tunes, dance tunes and ballads and stuff. There's 5 of them, and I go, wouldn't this be a fantastic project to do in that situation? Because here it is. Here's, an Irish American guy writes these kind of Irish tunes, and they're played by an American violist with Filipino background and a Japanese violinist who's been to America. So this whole kind of international thing happening around this. Wouldn't that be just an amazingly effective project to put out this way? And fortunately, you guys said, yeah, let's do that. So I arranged these for the 2 of you, and we're now busy working on those. So I really love this project, so I hope you guys keep going, doing other pieces this way.
We love this project, and so thrilled to work on your music. But this particular music is so simply, it's the kind of music simply speaks to the heart. And it is a perfect music for us at the moment in this space. And then we can conversate, we can understand musically with you like this, ask question by Facebook or Zoom. What a way to just connect and experiment. So we love this project.
So, plus it's completely different from anything any of us ever do, because I don't, I write pretty, contemporary chamber music type things, already, and so to do something like this was like a labor of love for me, because I've always wanted to do it. Anyway, I'm just delighted that we're doing this anyway. So I had another question actually that just came to my mind. I know that I'm going to be writing a piano quintet for you guys eventually in the next year or so, and that when you came to visit here, I put you together with my great friend Nadia Shpachenko, who won the Grammy Award for her CD this year, which has a piece of mine on it. And you guys played the magnificent Frank Bridge piano quintet, which is just the most stunning and incredible performances that you guys made of it. And we decided that you should play together more, in the future. So that's the whole idea behind the piano quintet. But I'm thinking, are you guys thinking a little bit outside of the box with the quartet too, like maybe playing more piano quintets or piano quartets, or bringing in playing with a clarinetist, or a singer, or something like you could do Schoenberg too, or something like that. Like are you starting to think about those kind of projects too?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were talking about doing chamber music with other people, and of course that's always been part of the ethos of what we're there to do, because chamber music is so much about collaboration and working with others and bringing different people's perspectives into your work, and also working together with that energy. And even doing these duos has been really great for us, because within the quartet, we usually do the format of quartets, 3 quartets in a concert. But actually, it spurred us into thinking, what other worlds of combinations can we do? There are duos, there are trios, and then obviously doing combinations like piano quintet, or with other instrumentalists, or with other artists that are outside of the classical genre, and working with different musicians who come from different practices, because that totally brings a whole new dimension to our work.
Yeah, and I believe you've just worked with some Indian musicians. Is that right? It's
Yeah, we did a great project with Kuljit Bamra and Davide Giovannini, who it was Indian tabla and jazz drumming. So a whole new world of percussion coming into the quartet.
Yeah, it's like, because we realize there's a whole world of music, and I know we've talked about how we learn something new every day, right? I mean, it's like just I always say, every time I think that I've heard everything and I know everything about music, I get hit in the top of the head with something that I had no idea ever existed, and I realize we're always evolving and we're always learning as musicians.
Yeah, and that's totally part of our I think. Our existence is to constantly push ourselves into doing different things, to go outside our own comfort zone, because obviously we know the quartet genre and how we like to work, but the minute you bring other people in, it also causes us to look at ourselves from an outside perspective and challenge what we think we're doing, because it's very refreshing to have this outside perspective come into the quartet. It joins our collective DNA, as you say. So, and plus we all just have a good time, enjoying each other's music.
Well, that's important. That's important to have fun, in these days. Like we were also the fact that we want to channel positive energy into the work we do now. I mean, there's enough ugliness in the world, right? So we want to make beautiful things, and music is the the antidote for a lot of darkness in the world. So that's what we want to. That's really our job these days, is to do that, I think, and we want to think about that. Anyway, this has been so much fun, and I hope we get to do this more as time goes on. Every once in a while, we'll have a check-in with each other and talk about what's going on with the quartet, because you have so many things happening now, and like we said, the evolution of the quartet is really moving rather quickly now. So I think you wanted to invite our viewers and listeners and readers on Facebook and social media to comment on this or send in their ideas or thoughts. We'd love to hear from them, wouldn't we?
Yes, absolutely. If you're joining us and you're a musician like us, or another artist or composer, or somebody who's been following us for a while, or listener, or if you're just completely new to who we are and curious about how a string quartet is coping, please get in touch with us. Leave comments, send us an email. We'd really be curious to see what you think about everything that's going on, and what kind of ideas or suggestions you have, what kind of stuff you think would be very interesting to see happening in this time.
Yeah. What about you, Tamaki? Did you have anything to add to that?
Well, for us, just connecting with audiences, connecting with friends, and then reflecting that into our music making. That's what we like to do. And then, as you said, Jack, just sending out the positive message, hopes that we can overcome this together.
And we will. We will overcome this together. If we just have to keep making music. Well, this has been absolutely fun, and so I just want to say to everybody, we all have individual Facebook accounts, and we have professional websites and stuff. So anyway, if you want to send us a private message or get in touch with us, it's really easy to figure that out, and we'd love to hear from everybody. So anyway, this has been great. I love hanging out with you guys, even though we're not in the same room. This is fun too.
Thank you.
So we'll see we'll see you again, and take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Jack.
Bye.
Bye.